I feel so sorry for the poor otaku who go to anime conventions expecting that they're going to find the love of their life and then to just have their dreams and hopes ruined because, you know, you're not supposed to necessarily, yeah, this is Cuddle Up Breath. You see, I opened this up with a completely stuttering statement because I had just come up with, like, the weirdest blog topic, and okay, stop me here. Why you should not hit on cosplayers. This is something that I learned from an anime convention based off of a poor schmuck that I remember. Okay, picture this in your mind, please. Consider, if you will. Okay, I'm sitting in this screening for Gunbuster the movie at Anime Expo, and during these screenings, pretty much anybody can walk in at any time, and there's very little monitoring of, you know, people talking or anything. So people tend to make loud, obnoxious comments during the movie, put in their own almost like Mystery Science Theater spin to it. And with Gunbuster the movie, it particularly pissed me off because you've got this guy in the back who thinks he's clever, who didn't watch the entire movie, saying, if it's 100 years in the future, how come she's not dead? Without having seen the first part of the movie to explain the fact that time travel is... never mind. So, anyways, this poor Haruhi cosplayer, like, sits, I think, a seat away from me. There's, like, one empty seat right there. And then another guy walks in. A bigger set kind of guy. I'm not going to say he's fat or anything, even though he was. Okay, a bigger guy comes in. Very much an otaku type. Very stereotypical otaku. He walks by. The first thing I notice is his odor. No offense, but, if people have odorly problems, they should probably wear deodorant, and I don't think he was thinking about it at the time. Sits right in the empty seat between me and the other cosplayer, and lo and behold, he starts having a conversation with her in the middle of the damn screening for Gunbuster the movie, which I was very wrapped up in at that time. I was being very moved by Noriko's plight, and here comes this big, just... Whoa, I was about to say cosplayer, but he's not. Just this big otaku type. And he's, like, turns around and he's looking at the Haruhi cosplayer and he's like, hi. And she's just a little bit creeped out, and she's just kind of like, hi. But she's still being friendly because, you know, most cosplayers are extremely nice, but sometimes they need the balls to say, what the hell are you doing? So he starting this conversation with her. Like, oh, do you know when season 2 is coming out? And then he starts talking about how Haruhi is his favorite series and everything. And he is so obviously hitting on her. And not only was it inappropriate within the context of being in the middle of a movie, but, guys who start hitting on cosplayers and start following them around conventions. And it's a more common phenomenon than people realize. It is an actual thing. I have had friends who are female cosplayers who have been stalked around by guys at conventions before. It's really quite sad. So I've kind of compiled what I would like to say is a little list of reasons why you should not hit on cosplayers. Number 1, cosplayers are people, not anime characters. Okay, most guys, and I even do this on occasion, it's just part of the excitement of an anime convention. I'm sorry, when I look at a Yuki Nagano cosplayer, the first thing that pops into my mind is, oh my god, it's Yuki Nagano. Not necessarily that it's a Yuki Nagano cosplayer and the person doing the cosplay is not really the character. Of course, that's not the first thing that comes to mind. It's, oh my god, it's somebody in a Yuki Nagano costume. And so you tend to get very excited. And then you actually start talking to these people, and usually their personalities are very different from what they're actually cosplaying, unless they're one of those creepy types that actually likes to act like their own characters, in which case you are awesome and I applaud you. But this one guy did not take that advice. Okay, he did not take that advice, but I do not take that advice usually. I just go up to cosplayers and I'm almost off-put by the fact that Nagano is giggling, and I'm like, what the hell? Nagano isn't supposed to giggle? Slap. But I don't slap cosplayers. That would put me in jail. And, you know, I wouldn't do well in jail. I'm too much of a pretty boy. You know what happens when you drop the soap. But that Mikuru cosplayer, just remember, just because Mikuru is adorable in the series, does it not mean that this Mikuru is not a black belt and cannot kick your ass. Because there are a few there are a few cosplayers that know karate and probably are not amused by your bullshit. Alright, cosplayers are constantly being hit on. You probably know better than the other guys who have already hit on her. If you want to make a good impression on somebody at an anime convention, you do not jump full gear into, like, immediately showing obviously how interested you are in them. You talk to them as real people. That's how you talk to normal women anyways. Just because they're cosplayers does not necessarily mean that they're anime characters and they're going to be swept away by your supposed charms. I have supposed charms, and I don't use them when I talk to cosplayers. It's a wise piece of advice. Otherwise, they're just going to shake their heads at you and go, oh, this guy is insanely creepy. The boyfriend bodyguards is another thing. And this is coming from an experience that I had where I was going to take a picture. I get very nervous when I'm about to take a picture of a cosplayer. Don't ask me why, I just do. And I saw a Rin Tosca cosplayer. I was like, oh my god, it's a Rin Tosca cosplayer. And I told my friends, hold on a second, I'm going to get my picture with Rin Tosca. Until I saw her boyfriend, who was dressed up as the other character from that show, Strider, walk up. And I just went, ooh. Actually, it's not Strider. It's Archer. Duh. I got some names mixed up. I'm sorry. Thinking of Lord of the Rings, apparently. No, but her boyfriend walks up as Archer. So another thing to keep in mind is that not all cosplayers are single, unfortunately. It's very sad. Actually, most of them are probably dating. Because, especially if it's a good-looking cosplayer, probably whatever nerdy, good-looking guy that she's found has probably swept her up already. Just, sorry to burst your bubble. She-males. She-males is the next one. There are cosplayers who are guys who are very good at pretending to be girls. Now, this... I don't feel like going into details about the Nagano cosplayer I met at a convention, who did a really good job, by the way, really bang-up job, that I realized was male after a while. And that sort of creeped me out. Just, once you notice the Adam's apple, you can't help but go, oh my god, I'm standing next to a guy dressed up like Yuki Nagano. And he was the best looking Nagano in that entire convention. I felt so sad, but it was pretty cool. I got my picture with him, and he had a guitar and everything, so it's pretty kick-ass. But be cautious of she-males. In fact, if you're hitting on a cosplayer, and they're hitting on you back, make sure they're a girl. Just make sure. Sometimes they're able to do this weird thing with their voice that will distract you from the fact that they're obviously a dude. Not a good idea. There are exceptions to this rule, though. There are some. For example, some of the lower-level cosplayers may actually, if they're single and they seem to be interested in you as well, may actually like the attention. Some slight flattery won't be so bad. Don't go overboard, but, you know, don't be too overly uptight either. I mean, cosplayers do like compliments. I mean, if you say their costume is great, their costume is fantastic. They like that kind of stuff. Just don't, you know, immediately stick your hand up their skirt, which nobody's ever going to do, but metaphorically, do not do that. Ew, if anybody were to actually do that, I'd be insanely creeped out, just walking down a hall at an anime convention. It's like, oh my god, there's a guy doing something not so nice to a guy. I'm walking. I need to call 911, make sure that somebody tracks that guy down before he causes any more trouble. But that is basically what I have to say is, treat cosplayers as you do actual women. And if you don't treat women with respect, they're probably not going to like you. Unless they're insanely weird, in which case they're one of those women that like to be disrespected, in which case just stay away from them. You're probably going to catch some sort of strange disease. This is Gotta Love Breath, and I am signing out. This was my... I don't know exactly what you would call this. This is my advice to you. Totally not from experience. Totally